Levac and Goss here with you on 104.5 The Team, and joining us on the phone lines thanks to Mohawk Army Navy. The perfect size that fits all as a gift card this holiday season. Mohawk Army Navy. Field Yates joins us in Field. Let's get into it. The Buffalo Bills, Tyrod Taylor, they have a matchup this weekend with the Miami Dolphins. Will Tyrod Taylor play this Sunday?
It sure looks like that's going to be the case, guys. Now, he practiced on Wednesday and making strides on Thursday as well, and this is a player that, as Sean McDermott has said, if he's medically cleared, he is going to be the starter. So it sure feels like Tyrod Taylor will be under center on Sunday. But, I think sort of making bold proclamations and guarantees on Thursday is often worth its weight in paper. Just not worth it until we actually know with 100% certainty.
The Miami Dolphins look so good on Monday Night Football against the New England Patriots. Why did they have so much success against what people consider to be the best team in the NFL going into the matchup?
Yeah, it looked terrific on Monday night to the Miami Dolphins. I thought it was brilliant schematic schematic design by the coaching staff. They seemed to feel as though the Patriots had some areas that they were vulnerable in, whether it was because of injury or overall ability, and they took advantage of it. And, the Dolphins just played really well on Monday night. They set the tone on both sides of the line of scrimmage, barely gave Tom Brady any time to throw, and on offense, Kenyon Drake was a one-man wrecking crew, a player that has really ascended in his second pro season. As I tweeted earlier on this week, the Jay Ajayi trade made a lot more sense on Monday night after I had the chance to see a second straight game of Kenyon Drake in a prominent role. He sure looks like a keeper at running back.
Yeah, you mentioned keeper, and I know for some fantasy football players, we'll get to this later on, if you picked up Drake in your fantasy football leagues, he could have been able to get you to the semifinals of the playoff round for sure. We'll get to that in a second, but I want to get to the New York Jets. Josh McCown suffers an injury. He's out for the season. It's likely that's his final snap in the NFL, but he now playing. Could this be a positive, although it sounds strange, a positive for the Jets' future that these young quarterbacks play?
I don't know about that. I mean, listen, I think that Bryce Petty probably isn't the future for the Jets going forward, and I think if you're going to say it's a positive, you probably would be saying, hey, I think ultimately that it's better that the Jets have a higher draft pick than a lower draft pick, which – listen, I'm personally not a fan of, cultivating a culture where it actually makes sense to lose over win. I think at the end of the day, players, it becomes habitual to lose. You need to learn how to win. Maybe that's me sounding curmudgeon-y or perhaps a little bit old school, but, I think that Josh McCown plays at such a high level that he just, I say he deserves, every player deserves to be out there, but I would have loved to see him have the chance to finish off that year.
And I almost presumed that McCown's going to be done. Do you believe his career's probably over with that injury?
No, I don't think his career's over. Okay. I think that he's probably going to be able to play again next year if he wants to, and I think there's going to be a market for Josh McCown. I mean, after how he played this year, why wouldn't a team was looking for a veteran quarterback consider Josh McCown, either on a one-year or a multi-year deal?
Field Yates joins us here thanks to the Mohawk Army Navy on Levac and Goss on 104.5 The Team. Let's shift it over to the New York Giants. Any movement right now when it comes to the GM and head coaching position? Anything you've heard about who could be the lead candidates right now?
No, I think it's too soon to assume anybody is a lead candidate, specifically a coach, because the most likely coaching candidates on the Giants' radar are those that are continuing to coach right now and either will through the regular season or potentially as far as his team advances in the postseason as well. On the GM front, Kevin Abram, the interim GM, did make note that he wants that job when he addressed the media on Thursday morning, and certainly he's a man that will be considered for the job. But I think the Giants, now that the Cleveland Browns vacancy has already been filled, it's not like there's any competition right now. If there's somebody on the Giants' radar, there's nobody else who's going to hire that person at the moment. So I think for now, sort of a wait-and-see mode for the G-men, and there's no major rush here. Get the candidate you want, or examine a bunch of them, and then make a decision accordingly.
You touched on this earlier, almost cultivating this idea of losing, and some Giants fans almost feel that same way, but the circumstances have changed now that the Eagles will be starting Nick Foles instead of Carson Wentz. With that backup quarterback now in the slot for Philadelphia, is there a way the Giants can pull off this upset, and if so, how?
I always said, nothing is impossible in the NFL, to invoke the great Kevin Garnett. Anything's possible. Yes, they could. It's not going to be easy to not have Carson Wentz, in under center on Sunday. I still think the Eagles find a way to win this game. The Giants have just looked so lifeless on offense, and defensively they've been okay, but they've been really hurt right now. And they've dealt with a ton of injuries on the defensive side of the ball, including potentially Damon Harrison. So I think all those factors contribute towards the likelihood of the Eagles taking care of business on Sunday.
Well, we're talking about quarterbacks all the way through. Let's shift it to the big national story involved in the NFL, and it's the return potentially of Aaron Rodgers to the Green Bay Packers. If Rodgers is back for the remainder of the season, is he a big enough factor that can get the Packers all the way to at least the playoffs?
That's the hard part. Is like just getting to the playoffs is going to require a pretty hearty effort from the Green Bay Packers and other teams basically cooperating. Right? I mean, if you look at the Packers' schedule, it's pretty solid. I mean, they got to play Carolina, Minnesota, and they finish off with the division game to end the season. So that's not going to be easy. But I think also beyond that, like the standings right now are not in their favor. I mean, other teams, if you look at them right now, you've got, amongst others, you've got New Orleans, Carolina, Atlanta, Seattle, the Rams, and the Eagles, who all have better records than the Green Bay Packers. The Lions also have, for now, an edge, and the Lions do play the Packers in Week 17. So just winning 3 straight games is not going to be enough to guarantee the Packers a playoff spot, which I think is the reason why I'm feeling as though they're probably going to end up on the outside looking in.
We do know the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots will be going to the playoffs, and they match up this Sunday. The winner of this game, do they have the bragging right as being the best team of the NFL season so far?
I mean, if that's what they want, sure, but that doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, who cares? Bragging rights don't make a difference, don't mean anything, on Sunday, December 17th. What matters is who's left standing when, the Vince Lombardi Trophy is being handed out on, I think, February 4th of this year. And I think the more important implication beyond who's the best team is which team has the inside track towards the number 1 seed in the AFC. Either team, if the Patriots win and they win out, they would have the number 1 seed. If the Steelers win, they wouldn't even necessarily have to win out, and they would have the number 1 seed. But, certainly whichever team wins should feel comfortable being in the driver's seat going forward for a number 1 seed and home field advantage throughout the playoffs.
All right, let's get into fantasy football. For those people that have been able to make it to the semifinal round of their leagues, is there a player on the waiver wire, maybe an injury, maybe as a Carson Wentz or something else, that might be able to beat some expectations and help you get to the finals of the fantasy football playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's the semifinals, so I don't want to, come here and tell you, hey, you should grab this guy off the waiver wire because he's definitely better than the starter that's helped you for the first 14 weeks of the season. The answer is there's not. But if you did roster Carson Wentz, you certainly have to examine quarterback options, which is why I would turn to, amongst others, I think, believe it or not, Blake Bortles should be on the radar.
Wow.
Bortles has played really well over the last 7 weeks. 6 of those last 7 games, he's had at least 16 fantasy points. So if you're thinking to yourself, how do I possibly replace Carson Wentz? Think about another player that was once drafted within the first 3 picks of the draft.
He is our NFL insider thanks to Mohawk Army Navy. Remember, this holiday season, the perfect gift that always fits is a gift card from Mohawk Army Navy. He is Field Yates. Field, appreciate the time. We'll talk again next week.
All right, guys, no problem.